Prince Philip is not happy with Harry's decision to step back as he repays the $3 million renovation costs for Frogmore Cottage. And are William and Harry getting back on track? CNN Royal Correspondent Victoria Arbiter gives us the latest on the royal rift.
I think the distance helps enormously as well. Suddenly there was just room for everyone to exhale and just take a breather and just pause and re-evaluate what matters and what's important.
Plus, Lainey Lui helps us break down Meghan and Harry's mega Netflix deal.
For two people who left an institution where they didn't feel like they had a say, and they probably didn't own anything, and they couldn't so much as like tie their shoelaces without getting someone to sip some tea and sign off on it, you would imagine that ownership is a priority.
We've got that plus so much more in today's Royally Us. Hello to our fellow royal lovers and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, that's Molly, the host of the Diva Behavior Podcast. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm great. Just trying to pretend summer isn't over yet.
Right? How crazy is that summer is gone?
I know.
What a weird year. It went by so fast, even though a lot of us didn't do much of anything, but
right.
made most of it. But we have a lot to get to today. Of course, a lot of Harry and Meghan news. We're going to break down that gigantic Netflix deal, the latest on his rift with William. But before we get to all of that, we have to check in with our royal viewers, our royal watchers, who of course had a lot to say. So we're going to kick it off with Lisa Bradford. She goes, Charles going to the opera while William was in the hospital. This is why the Windsors are seen as not being quite human, don't have normal feelings. Diana to stay at the hospital. How many moms and dads couldn't relate to that? Just one of the many reasons why Diana was so loved and admired by so many. So this was, of course, in reference to the clip that we showed last week when William went to the hospital and then Charles left to go to the opera.
Right. I think, this commenter sort of nails it. This is why the Windsors have a little bit of a frosty reputation. But I guess we have to keep in mind that we don't really know the truth of what they're like behind closed doors. But I think we can probably all agree that that wasn't the best PR move at the very least.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Next one goes to Joanne Baker. Hopefully now British tabloid media and the British people can put a cork in it. I'm sure the announcement of this deal has triggered the British press and not in a good way. Harry and Meghan are no longer dependent on the British royal family's money. They will be financially independent, thank God. Of course, talking about the big Netflix deal that we're going to break down in a little bit. Right.
I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to be putting a cork in anything, but it would be nice to think so, I guess, right?
No, they're going to give us content to talk about for years and years to come.
Right.
All right. The last one goes to Sophia Adams. Wish all you want, but Harry doesn't deal with William anymore because William and his team at Kensington Palace were throwing Harry under the bus to make William look good. Harry doesn't trust William anymore. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that person has an inside scoop we don't know about.
Yes, Sophia, come on the show. Tell us more.
Yeah, unfortunately, we'll never know the truth about that. But, of course, everybody has their thoughts.
Everybody has their thoughts. And we have a little bit more information on the latest on their rift. So we're going to talk about that coming up. But first, let's get to our royal news of the week, our royal roundup. And, of course, we have to kick things off with Harry and Meghan. They just repaid a big, big bill.
That Netflix money came in handy for sure. They paid $3.1 million back for the renovations to Frogmore Cottage, which was their house in Windsor that they stayed in. I still am wondering, as always, how do you even run up a $3.1 million tab on renovation?
Oh my God. They must have tore down to the studs. I would love to see what they did because they really, they wanted to make this place home. It still technically is home when they want to go back. They have to, of course, get the Queen's approval to stay there when they go, but I'm sure that she'll say yes. But yeah, this was supposed to be their forever home, which is why they did such an extensive renovation. So it makes you think that maybe their move to California wasn't as long-term planned as maybe we thought.
Right. But there have also been reports that this cottage, and it's not really a cottage. I mean, if you've seen photos of it, it is really funny, typical British understatement to call it a cottage. But this cottage apparently did need some renovations. So it is possible that since it's such an old building, there needed to be a lot of work done anyway. So I guess it will serve the royal family in generations to come as well.
Yeah, that's true. So they were doing them all a favor. But yeah, no, taxpayers weren't really too happy that they shelled out all this money. You know, there was a lot of complaints for a while. So I would imagine that a lot of people are happy that they repaid this debt.
Right, definitely.
Definitely. All right, moving on to Prince Philip. So we don't know, maybe when they do return to London, Prince Philip might not have a very warm welcome, because there's a new book coming out in October, and it details that Prince Philip wasn't really too happy with Harry stepping back from the royal family.
Right. He apparently sees it as a dereliction of duty, and he thinks that he was such a loyal servant to the royal family throughout his life that it's a little bit, I guess, of an affront to him, the fact that some of the younger members of the royal family have been vocal in their ambivalence about royal life.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it almost made it seem that he was saying that, you know, Harry chose Meghan and his family over royal duties, which is essentially kind of what he did. But if so many people are kind of going against what the royal way used to be, maybe it's time to change or update, modernize the way the royal way is now.
Right. I think you can see this in any family. I mean, everybody's got a grandparent who's not crazy about a choice they've made in their life. So I guess it's just, you know, royals, they're just like us.
That is true. That is very, very true. In other news, Harry is once again taking legal action against some British tabloids who once again kind of created a story maybe out of nothing. So this was about the Invictus Games. There was supposed to be a big benefit for it, and they claimed that it was canceled.
Right. The Sunday Times sort of said that the Netflix deal was the reason why this benefit was canceled. Mm-hmm. But now Harry's lawyers are saying the Netflix deal had nothing to do with that. And it actually was just because of COVID, because the fundraiser was supposed to raise money through ticket sales. And obviously there are no live ticket sales right now. So that is sort of the complaint that Harry had.
Yeah, and you know, this is not the first time. Obviously, they're still in a legal battle with a lot of the British royal papers for a lot of false reports that they claim were made against them. So that is definitely ongoing, and I feel like now every time that something is big enough for them to want to kind of squash, they're going to take legal action. They're not going to mess around.
Right. And it is sort of surprising to see, to me at least, to see them continuing to take legal action, because with Meghan's case against the Mail on Sunday, it has actually opened up her life to even more scrutiny, and it's led to even more tabloid coverage. So I guess that's the double-edged sword of holding these newspapers accountable, is it might end up sort of working against them. So I guess we'll just have to see which issues they do take legal action against and which ones they kind of let slide in the future.
Right. No, totally. I feel like you see, yeah, it's kind of opening up a whole new can of worms, and we'll see what happens. Definitely, it's not going to end pretty for anybody.
Right.
Well, speaking of Netflix, the couple, of course, struck that multi-year deal, which has them producing everything from documentaries, docuseries to children's programming. So to help us break it all down, to help us break down the royal rules, is Canadian TV host and Lainey Gossip's own Lainey Lui. Why do you think they decided to go this route, and how hands-on do you think that they're going to be?
Well, one of the reasons I think that they probably decided to go this route is because of time and scheduling. If you think about Michelle and Barack Obama, I mean, producing documentaries and series is not their only job, right? They're world leaders. They have charitable endeavors. They have, elections to help out on, and books to write and all of that. So that is one of the reasons for Harry and Meghan. I imagine they have other projects. Harry, for example, has the Invictus Games, Travelist, the sustainable travel initiative that he works on. They also have various other charitable commitments. And so for them, of course, you have an investment in a production company, but the day-to-day nitty-gritty granular details of managing that, they can hand off to other very talented, experienced people. So that would be number one. And number two, right now, and you two know this, it's all about ownership of content.
Mm-hmm. Right. Having a
production company with your name on it means the content is yours. Mm-hmm. And for two people who left an institution where they didn't feel like they had a say, and they probably didn't own anything, and they couldn't so much as like tie their shoelaces without getting someone to sip some tea and sign off on it, you would imagine that ownership is a priority. And that's what's, especially for Harry, who grew up in this environment where partly your life is owned by the people, and you kind of have to like bow and put your crown on and do all this stuff after getting sign off from like a committee of people. This must be such an exciting opportunity.
We got reporting that, this is like $100 million deal. Like, this is a big deal. Now they are officially financially independent, which is what they wanted for a very long time. I mean, now we know some of maybe what, fans and of the royal family might think of it, but what do you think the royal family thinks of this move and this situation that they've put themselves in?
Well, if you believe reports, there are some people who say that the senior members of the royal family are troubled by it, that they wonder if this will compromise the family name or the dignity of the royal family and all of that. And listen, that may be the case, or it may again just be the UK publications and the media continuing to be firmly anti-Sussex. I'm curious, though, if there might be a little bit of non-malicious envy. How about this? A wistfulness. Because when you are of the royal family, and especially if you are in your 30s like Harry and William are, and you've grown up in a certain world where you're seeing people traveling and posting on social media and having these experiences. The two brothers have long talked about the fact that they never got to live a normal life and do what other people their age have done and experienced. And so I wonder, for the royals in the British royal family who are around the same age as Harry, and they're like, man, he moved to LA and he's forming a production company and he can just basically do whatever and tell stories that he wants to tell and not have to run it by 80 courtiers who are old fashioned and don't know what Instagram is and wouldn't know a TikTok if it slapped them in the face. Wow, they can do that. I'm kind of jealous. Meanwhile, tomorrow I have to go and do this thing and wear these clothes and everybody has a say in how my hair is. Like, I wonder if there's a little bit of non-malicious jealousy. That's not impossible.
Have you been surprised by any of the choices you've seen them take so far in their new roles?
I haven't been surprised at, the Netflix thing and the producing. I have to say that if we're talking about 2020, I was surprised that they moved to LA so quickly and at the time that they moved. So that was one surprise. And I think it surprised everybody. But I guess in general, 2020 has been a year of surprises from the Sussexes, from the time they made the announcement that they were stepping back from senior royal duties, to the move to Canada, to the move to LA. So, I think that it's been interesting to be surprised by them. Like, I like that they are learning the gift of surprise and keeping people on their feet. I love that they haven't restarted a presence on social media and have decided to take a step back and not hop right onto Instagram right away or launch their own TikTok. I like that they're thinking about it, and I hope they continue to take their time to do that.
Yeah, Lainey, I can't wait to see what the future has in store for them. It's definitely going to be interesting.
Thank you so much for talking to me about this and,
yes,
and inviting me on your show.
We really, really appreciate it. And to check out more of Lainey and all of her great content, make sure you go to laineygossip.com. So now it is time to spill the royalty. So what is the latest going on with Harry and William? As we spoke about last week, Molly, of course, they teamed up. They released a statement about Princess Diana's death. And now we are getting reporting that actually kind of triggered the brothers to start talking once again, which I think we kind of expected.
Right. And I think this is just really positive, welcome news for anyone who sort of grew up seeing them be brothers together. People are so attached to the idea of them being close. And I think it's just great news to hear that they're kind of getting back on track.
Definitely. Yeah, we heard that they were, William called up Harry to find out what life is like in California and how things are going. So hopefully that this is steps in the right direction.
Definitely.
I feel like we've been talking about it forever. We just want them to be friends again.
I know. We just want to see them like goofing around and having fun and everything.
I know. Well, I recently spoke with CNN Royal Correspondent Victoria Arbiter, who gave us her opinion on the brothers' long royal rift. What have you heard about the status of the relationship between William and Harry? Obviously, we get some reporting that, some weeks they're talking, other weeks they're not talking. And, obviously they have an ocean between them, so it's hard to get together. But have you heard anything if they're on better terms?
Ultimately, Christina, yes, I think they are. I think Prince Charles being sick with coronavirus, that really brings things into perspective quite quickly. It makes you forget whatever quibbles you've had when a family member is sick with a deadly disease. Thankfully, Prince Charles didn't have a particularly painful strain of it. But even weeks on after he had recovered from it, you still saw that he was struggling a little bit with it. So I think that was a great leveler. I think the distance helps enormously as well. Suddenly there was just room for everyone to exhale and just take a breather and just pause and re-evaluate what matters and what's important. At the same time, is it perfect yet? No. And I think there's going to be speculation for a very long time about the state of this relationship. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure as a result on William and Harry when they do appear to unveil this statue next year. Hopefully they'll be able to get together before then. But in the same way that Harry was so desperate to defend Meghan, Kate doesn't come off terribly well in Finding Freedom, and I'm sure that was quite difficult for William wanting to defend his wife. So every family knows there are ups and downs in relationships. You can't guarantee that everyone's going to get on all the time, but William and Harry have said in the past that they are each other's rock. They're the only two people who understand what it's like to have been through what they have specifically been through. And even in that interview in South Africa that you mentioned earlier, Harry said he'll always be my brother. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, as they mature, as they find their groove, as they find the things that are going to be determining their future, that relationship will just organically start to heal. But it's going to take time for it to be back to where it was. Let's put it that way.
All right, let's move on to our royal history moment of the week. And this is pretty cool because anybody that is visiting Windsor Castle can get a peek at Princess Beatrice's dress.
Yes, her wedding dress, which was originally a dress worn by the Queen to a state dinner many, many decades ago, and she had it refashioned for her wedding, and now it's going to be on display at Windsor.
That is so cool. I love that. I love that this was like a hand-me-down dress from the Queen, even though it was absolutely stunning.
Yes, it was beautiful. And it's also good to know that the royal palaces are back open to the public. They've got social distancing guidelines in place and everything, but that dress will be on display from September 24th onward. So if anyone's going to be in the UK, or if anyone lives in the UK, you'll be able to go check it out, which is really great.
That is really cool. Well, if anybody lives in the UK and is visiting, they can hop on over to Sandringham Estate and check out a movie, which is pretty fun.
Yes, they're going to be showing DriveIn Movies at the Queen's Sandringham Estate, which is so fun. They're putting a big emphasis on British cinema, which is great because a lot of great British movies have come out in the last few years. They're going to be screening 1917, Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody, and they're going to have a few American productions thrown in too, with Grease, A Star is Born, Toy Story. It just sounds like a great time.
Oh my God, it sounds like so much fun. Who wouldn't want to watch a movie on a royal estate?
Right. It's just something that you wouldn't think you would ever have a chance to do.
Seriously, count us in.
Yeah.
Well, you should probably go, Molly, and report back. Let us know how it is.
I know. I was looking up the train times and I'm really thinking about it.
Totally. Well, before we wrap up, we have to check in on our pint-sized palace, our royal kiddos, and there was a report going around that William and Kate are actually very grateful for COVID, but not for the reasons that you might think.
Right. They've had a silver lining, which is that they're spending so much more time with their children because royals, they have such a busy schedule and they travel so much that it can be really tough for them to be with their kids for extended periods of time.
Really? Yeah, and they've done a ton of Zooms, over the past few months talking about life at home with the kids. While it's chaotic, it is nice for them to spend some quality time together. They were homeschooling, and doing a lot of activities, spending a lot of time outside. And this isn't really typical of a royal family. They don't really get to spend months and months on end with their kids. So this is some time that they're never going to be able to get back or probably never be able to do again either.
Right. And as one of our commenters mentioned, the Windsor family does have a little bit of a frosty reputation. And a big part of that is what Prince Charles spoke about when, like years ago, back in the 80s and 90s, he sort of started opening up about the way that he felt not that close to his parents because they would spend months at a time out on trips and they wouldn't bring him with them. And that's just kind of a different way of parenting that was a little more common with people of their upbringing in, you know, the last century. And I guess William and Catherine are doing a lot to sort of break down those barriers.
Definitely. Well, Molly, thank you so much for breaking down all things royals.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. Well, guys, keep commenting, keep subscribing, and keep checking out Royally Us. It comes out every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. on Us Weekly's YouTube channel. We'll see you guys next week.